Yo. How we doing? How we feeling? Ooh, let me turn the hat a little bit. Great to see you guys. It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. It's just Hooligan House Live. It's just Hooligan House Live. What am I talking about? It's Fantasy Haus Live. Lol. Anyways, how you guys doing? Great to see you. Thanks for stopping on by to the little old Hooligan House place. Freddie, good to see you, my guy. Appreciate you as always. Much love. Yeah, so the usual plan ski is to do some good old Fantasy Haus Live, go over all of the usual action that happened in the review, go over the updated power rankings, and then finally check out the kind of preview of the next week. You finally beat the Mortal Kombat story. How'd you like it? What'd you think? Was it sick? I recently started playing through Resident Evil 2. That shit's legit. Because it's all, spoopy season. But, anyways, we've got a decent amount to dive into, so let's get right into the action, shall we? Alright. Nope, it's one of these. It's one of these buttons. Oh, it was this one. There we go. I had to figure out which one it was. Boom. Bro, the cutscenes are so dope. Everything felt like a movie. Ending was dope. Some of it might be confusing. I feel you. Yeah, dude. Mortal Kombat always did, like, with their cutscenes, always did really good. But I always like their stories, too. Their stories are always really good. But, alright, y'all. So, as always, we are going to start with the kind of weekly review and kind of see how everything broke down for week 6. Just kind of adjusting some things real quick. Alright, so this is how the action for week 6. Well, if you like a good story, they got another in MK1. I might have to check it out, honestly. I do like me some Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter. I never did pick up Street Fighter, but I kind of want to because that kind of like open worldness of the Street Fighter campaign seems dope. But anywho, doing the good old review for week 6. Starting at the top, Massage Watson, actually who has a new team name as of this like upcoming week, but for this last remaining week, we will refer to him as Massage Watson, has been changed to All Hail the Sun God. You got Street Fighter 6, but you haven't played it in a bit. Hey, happens. Life and other games always happens. Alright, let's do it. So, starting at the top, we had Massage Watson taking on CD's Nuts, and Massage Watson picking up the win by a score of 123 to 111. In the second matchup, we had a super close matchup. Less than 1 point separated these two. Destino picking up a huge win over the Young Guns by a score of 98 even to 98.95. So less than a point. Insane. In our third matchup, we had Desert Swarm picking up another win over Bob's Burgers by a score of 128 to 115. In our fourth matchup, we had the Addams Family, our number 1 overall top dog, remaining on top by winning this week by a score of 117 to 89 over Team Ditka. Then in our second to last matchup, we had the reigning and defending champion in Kelsey Me Softly getting a huge blowout win over Better on Paper by a score of 146 to 87. And finally, in our last matchup of week 6, the BJJs are taking the L this week against Team Nugent, who was able to obviously walk away with that win by a score of 116 to 89. Now, as always, we're going to take a quick little dive into how each of these teams broke out, or broke down, I should say. Starting off with the top one, which, I mean, it's gonna, once I switch it, it'll spoil the team name, so, but whatever. Boom. Oh, didn't turn off the background. Haha. Okay. Well, All Hail the Sun God is now my new team name, so Massage Watson is All Hail the Sun God. It's glorious. But, all right, go there. Move this over so we can see the points. Boom. There, I like that. All right, so starting at the top and with our quarterbacks. Starting off with CD's nuts. Their QB was Jalen Hurts, who was able to get 22 points in that. I don't think anyone was expecting the Jets to lose, especially to the Eagles, but they did. But Jalen still balled out, able to get 22 points in that 14-20 loss to the Jets. On the opposite side, we have Matthew Stafford, able to get 15 points in the win over. I mean, it was kind of a blowout, 26-9, where you'd expect that, or at least hope that Stafford would have got more than 15, but it is what it is. Moving straight on into the running backs, we'll continue with All Hail the Sun God here, aka Massage Watson, who had Austin Eckler in his first game back from injury here, able to get 10 points in the 3-point loss to Dallas, which I think that game was actually, in my opinion, was actually super close. Well, I mean, it was only a 3-point game, but I feel a lot of people thought that game was going to be kind of like a blowout because Dallas had been blowing people out pretty much left and right, except for dropping a few kind of key losses. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're not obviously as good as the Niners, we should say, were before this point. But anywho, if we look on the opposite side here for CD's nuts, Rachaad White for Tampa Bay, only able to get 6 points in that loss to Detroit. While if we move into the next set of running backs, we have Chuba Hubbard continuing here for CD's nuts here. Haha, it's always fun to say. Able to get 16 points in the loss to Miami. Chuba has actually been pretty damn dependable there in Carolina. Opposite side of Chuba for All Hail the Sun God, aka Massage Watson, was Emery DeMarcado, who's stepping up in the place of injured James Conner, only able to get 2 points in that loss to the Rams. Now, if we go into the wide receivers, we have the new namesake of the team, Amon-Ra St. Brown, able to get 30 points in a huge win over Tampa Bay. While on the opposite side here for CD, we have Devontae Adams, only able to get 4 points in the win over New England. Moving on into the next set of wide receivers, starting off with the namesake for CD's nuts, we have CeeDee Lamb, able to get 18 points in the pretty narrow win over the Chargers, while Keenan Allen, who obviously also played in that game, was able to get 21 points in the loss to Dallas. Now, if we move into our tight ends, starting with All Hail the Sun God, we have TJ Hawkinson able to throw up another consistent 11 points here in the win over Chicago, while Dalton Schultz also showing that he can be consistent with a new quarterback. I don't think anyone was expecting that Houston offense to be nearly as productive as it is, but hey, he's one of the byproducts of that. Able to get 16 points in that big win over New Orleans. Now, if we move into the flex spots, we'll start off with CD over here. Michael Pittman Jr. able to get 19 points in the win over Jacksonville. No, loss to Jacksonville, not win, sorry. In that loss to Jacksonville. While Zay Flowers able to get 17 points in the win over Tennessee. And if we move into the defenses, we have the Cowboys able to get 6 points in that narrow win over the Chargers. While on the opposite side here for the Sun God, we have able to get, a pretty respectable 7 points, kind of even there, in the big blowout win over Carolina. Then if we take a quick little look at the kickers, we have Tyler Bass for Buffalo, who didn't actually score anything. a good old donut on the day in the win over the Giants, while Brandon Aubrey able to throw up 8 points in the win over the Chargers. And while I switch, I'm going to let my cat out. 2 seconds. What a weirdo. Alright. Moving on. Oh. In our next matchup, we have the Young Guns taking on Destino. Boom. Make sure we can see everything all nice. Alright. Then back starting at the top. Starting with the Young Guns, Patrick Mahomes able to get 20 points in the win over Denver, while for Destino, Josh Allen only able to get 15 points in the win, which should have been a bigger margin of win over the Giants. If we look at the running backs, we have Josh Jacobs, who continues to ball out, able to get 11 points in the win over New England, while James Cook able to only get 7 points this week in the win over the Giants. Then in the next set of running backs for the Young Guns here, they had Kyron Williams, who unfortunately did get injured and will be missing multiple weeks. Able to able to get 21 points in the 26-9 win over Arizona. While on the opposite side for Destino, Alvin Kamara able to get 17 points in the loss to Houston. If we take a look at the first set of wide receivers, oops, sorry. Okay. Where were we? Oh, we were with the wide receivers. We'll start off with Destino here, and Debo only able to get 1 point before he was knocked out of the game with injury in that loss to Cleveland. While on the opposite side here for the Young Guns, T. Higgins able to get 4 points in the win over Seattle. So we'll just stay with the Young Guns here in the next set of wide receivers. In DK Metcalf able to get 10 points in the loss to Cincy, while Marquise Brown able to get 7 points. Okay. Where was it? Marquise Brown able to get 7 points in the loss to the Rams. Yo, what's good, J Money? How we doing, brother? Good to see you, my guy. Appreciate you for stopping in. How we doing? How we feeling? If you take a look at the tight ends, we got Mark Andrews for the Young Guns here, able to get 10 points in the win over Tennessee, while Tyler Conklin on the opposite side here for Destino, only able to get 5 points in the win over Philly. Doing good? Hey, that's what I like to hear, brother. That's what I like to hear. Well, welcome on in, man. Welcome on in. We are just kind of getting started. This is only our second match of the review, so you're just in time. We got the flex position next up for this, in which case for the Young Guns here, we have Christian Kirk, able to get 13 points in that nice win over Indy. You're excited for Hardman and Frank Clark coming back? Hey man, that's good for your team. It'll be interesting to see how they work them into the system, because I know you guys seem to go through a lot of your wide receivers, but I mean, he already knows the system pretty damn well, so it probably won't take him too long to build up a connection with Mahomes. Frank Clark is like a huge plus. It's not like Seattle is doing anything with him, so hell yeah, brother. Right, that's where he was, Seattle. But oh yeah, and then we had Tyler Conklin for Destino, only able to get 5 points in the win over Philly. If we look at the flex spot, we'll just stay with Destino here. Cooper Kupp continues since was this his first game back or second game back? But either way, 27 points for the Rams Rams #1 receiver. Frank Clark was in Denver. Oh yeah, Denver definitely wasn't doing anything. It was Kupp's second game back. Good lord, second game back, and the man balled out. So, although I feel bad for Puka Nacua owners because Nacua was on fire. I mean, he'll still get worked into the offense, but still, dude, it's there's night and day difference between Puka and Cooper. But anyways, if we move, oh yeah, and Christian Kirk on the opposite side here for the Young Guns, able to get 13 points in the win over Indy. If we move into defenses, we have yo, what's good, Jamel? Good to see you, dude. How we doing? How we feeling? Welcome on in. If we take a look at the defenses, we have the Seahawks able to get 8 points in the loss to Cincy, while for the Browns here, able to get 8 points in the win over San Fran, which absolutely no one was expecting. But hey, that's any given Sunday, right? Doing really good? Hey, well, hell yeah, dude. That's what I like to hear. Zios, I'm still waiting for that Rashee Rice trade offer. Brother, you just picked up Mercole Hardman, and now you want to pick up Rashee Rice? You're going to have the whole KC offense, and when they go on a break, then when they go on a bye week, you're going to be like, what the fuck? I was so excited when he get back. I already knew he would get a lot of catches. Who, Mecole? Also, doesn't having Mecole also technically hurt Rashee Rice? Oh, Coop. Oh yeah, dude. There was this video on Twitter I saw of like, it was all of like the Rams wide receivers kind of just like doing kind of like wide receiver drills. It was like footwork drills, and just how fast Cooper's footwork was compared to everyone else's is just next level. Like insane. But yeah, that dude is just a catch magnet. He's always open. Am I gonna play Spider-Man 2 on PS5? Maybe at some point. I never played any of the first ones. But yeah, definitely not on launch. Not on launch. That's for sure. Oh shoot, I still got a snag. I still got a snag, Spidey. Dude, you have to? Ah, man. I hear they're actually incredible. Like the first Spider-Man and then the Miles Morales one, I've heard is really good. But, you know, fucking time. Worst thing is I always like start so many different games and then just not finish them. So I'm trying to be a lot better before it. Oh yeah, they kill it every time. I still want to play the Kingdom Hearts games too. Game's really good, I bet. It's all I keep hearing from literally everyone. I'm in like another Discord. People are just freaking out about it. They're just like, I can't wait till Spider-Man 2 comes out. And I'm just sitting here just like, all right. Is set to be the best one. I mean, there's a lot of hype around it. I've been seeing some of the tech introduced on Twitter too. Sheesh, been looking good. I'll probably check it out at some point, but do you need to play like the first two? Or is it kind of just one you can just drop into and not know anything? But anywho, let's roll into these kickers real quick. For the Young Guns here, we have Jake Elliott, only able to score 1 point this week in the loss to the Jets, while Young Waiku able to get 5 points in the loss to the Commanders. Okay, rolling on into the third matchup. Boom, want to make sure you can all see that. There we go. All right. Starting off with good old Bob's Burgers and the QBs. Bob's Burgers able to get 25 points out of Jared Goff this week, while they got a big win over Tampa by a score of 20-6. While for the Desert Swarm, Brock Purdy kind of, I think he got knocked out of the game. But what's funny is Purdy got knocked out, and Desert Swarm was still able to be able to pull out the W. So hey, GG's, bro. GG's. Not an easy feat. But anyways, Brock Purdy only able to get 8 points before getting injured and taken out of the game in that loss to Cleveland. Did he get injured? Or am I just running with that narrative in my head? Yeah. Hang on a second. Why did I say that? Yeah. He finished the game. It was just a bad game. What the fuck? Right? Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah, I was like, no, he didn't get injured. It was just like, it was like CMC, Debo, and Trent Williams all went down. I was like, what am I talking about? Definitely didn't get injured. It was a terrible game. Terrible. Hardman better get some catches. He will. Who else is gonna get it? Tony? Rice? Everyone knows Kelsey's gonna get it for sure. You guys just don't have a number one wide receiver. Just looking for it yet. Yeah, it's a big if Tony can't hold on to it. Rice is the number one right now. I guess technically, he was like second in catches behind Kelsey. But besides, it's the Chiefs. They spread it around too much anyways. If we take a look into these running backs, we'll take a look at King Henry here. There's rumors that the Titans might be trying to move Derrick Henry at the trade deadline. Crazy, right? Anyways, King Henry able to get 19 points in the loss to Baltimore, while on the opposite side, Travis Etienne able to get 23 points in the win over Indy. Travis Etienne is just looking incredible. Obviously, not quite as good as Bijan, who didn't quite have a highlight reel clip, but my lord, Travis Etienne has been having a hell of a career since he bounced back from that what was it? I think an ACL in like his rookie year. That pretty much made him forfeit his rookie year. If we move into the next set of running backs here, we have DeAndre Swift for Bob's Burgers, able to get 17 points in that loss to the Jets, while David Montgomery able to get only 4 points this week in the win over Tampa. Then if we move straight on into the wide receivers here, we'll start with the Desert Swarm. And the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Tyreek Hill, able to get 28 points in the big 42-21 win over Carolina. While on the opposite side here for Bob's Burgers, Garrett Wilson, able to get a pretty modest 17 points, despite the fact he has Zach Wilson throwing him to him nowadays. In the win over Philly. Is Lawrence playing tomorrow? There has been indications that they think he's going to play tomorrow. At least that's what he's intending to, is from what I'm hearing. But we'll see. I was like, you have Trevor Lawrence, don't you? I was like, we can probably check it when we get there. Then when we get to if we take a look at the next set of wide receivers here, we got DJ Moore, who's able to get 10 points in that loss to Minnesota. On the opposite side here for Desert Swarm, Jacoby Myers able to get 17 points in that huge win over New England for the Raiders. Yeah, you do. I'll take a look at them when we get to your teams review in a little bit. If we look at tight ends, we'll stay ahead with the Desert Swarm here in Dallas Goedert, who is actually having a pretty damn good season this year with the Eagles, able to get 9 points in the loss to the Jets, while on the opposite side for Bob's Burgers here, we got Tyler Higbee, able to only get about 3 points in the win over Arizona. Then if we take a look at the flex spot quickly, staying with Bob's Burgers, we have Andre Hopkins, right? DeAndre Hopkins, able to get only 3 points this time in the loss to Baltimore, while on the opposite side for the Desert Swarm, Mr. Tony Pollard himself, able to get 17 points in the win over the Chargers. It's like, is English not my first language, or can I just not read? Yeah. Pull it together, man. Anyways, if we move on into, turn this up just here. If we move into the defenses, we have the Lions for Bob's Burgers, able to get 9 points in the win over Tampa. Then for the Desert Swarm, the Ravens able to get 13 points in the win over Tennessee. Then lastly, making sure the music isn't louder than my voice. I'm trying not to compete. If we take a look at the kickers, starting off with Bob's Burgers once again, we have Matt Gay able to get 10 points this week, so actually pretty damn good week for the kid. In the loss to Jacksonville, while Evan McPherson only able to get 7 points this week in the win over Seattle. Okay, in our next matchup, we got D. Adams family taking on Team Ditka. And as always, starting off with our QBs, we had Tua Tagovailoa able to get 25 points this week in the win over Carolina, while for Team Ditka, Mr. Justin Fields only able to get 5 points in the loss to Minnesota. Then we get into these running backs. We have Saquon for D. Adams family able to get 13 points in that loss to Buffalo, while for Team Ditka, Jonathan Taylor able to get an alright 11 points, 11 and a half technically if you want to split hairs, in the loss to Jacksonville. Then if we look at the next set of running backs, the RB2s, we have Ramondre Stevenson for D. Adams family able to get 18 points this week in the loss to the Raiders. Then for Team Ditka, Jerome Ford, the unsuspecting newly crowned RB1 there in Cleveland, able to get 11 points in the win over San Fran. Now if we jump on over to the wide receivers, we will take a look at Stephon Diggs for D. Adams family here, able to get 20 points in the win over the Giants, while on the opposite side here, A.J. Brown also pretty much able to match that with 20.1 in the loss to the Jets. Now in the wide receiver twos, we'll stay with Team Ditka's team here. Jordan Addison for Minnesota able to get 11, almost 12 points in the win over Chicago, while Devontae Smith for the Eagles was only able to get 9 points in the loss to the Jets. Looking at the tight ends real quick, we got George Kittle able to only get 1 point this week in that loss to Cleveland, while Sam Laporta continues to have an awesome season. But this week was a little bit closer to what you would normally expect out of a tight end. Only able to get 7 points this week. If we move into the flex spot real quick, we got Nico Collins able to get 12 points in the win over New Orleans, while Dante Foreman for Team Ditka only able to get 7. Then in the battle of the defenses here, we had 11 points to the Raiders had 11 points in the win over New England, while on the opposite side for Team Ditka here, the Jets also threw up 11 in the win over Philly. Then last but certainly not least, Riley Patterson for Detroit was able to get 7 points in the win over Tampa, while Jake Moody, who unfortunately missed a game-winning, was the game-winning or game-tying? Does it say? Oh, his team lost by 2 points. Yeah, so they needed it to take the lead, not tie it. Okay. But oof, that was just brutal for them. All right. Now it is time for Kelsey Me Softly versus Better on Paper. He's still questionable. Lawrence was listed as a participant in the Jags practice reports. Has a chance to play through sprained knee Thursday. Lawrence said that Tuesday's knee has been improving rapidly since he injured it in Sunday's win over the Colts, leaving him optimistic that he'll be able to play in a short week. Boom, there's your answer. All right. Starting at the top. So we got Trevor Lawrence able to get 16 points in that win over Indy, while Lamar Jackson, let me move this up. While Lamar Jackson, for better on paper, only able to get 19 points this week in the win over Tennessee. Then if we look at Kelsey softly, they had Bijan Robinson, the rookie sensation I had just mentioned before, only able to get 13 points this week. It seems like every week this man was just popping off, but seems to have come back a little bit to earth. Able to get only 13 points this week in the loss to Washington. Over on the opposite side, for better on paper, Joe Mixon able to get 9 points in the win over Seattle, while if we just stay with better on paper, into their next set of running backs, Isaiah Pacheco able to get 15 points, so pretty decent game out of Pacheco there in the win over Denver. Then if we take a look at the running back situation for, what am I looking at here? Oh, it was because Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker able to get 17 points in that loss to Cincy. Then if we move into the first set of wide receivers, we had Calvin Ridley able to get 6.6 in the win, 37-20 win over Indy. Then Gabe Davis on the opposite hand here, able to only get 3.1 points in the win over the Giants. Then if we move into the next set of wide receivers here, we'll stay on the better than paper side here with Darnell Mooney, who's only able to get 6.8 points, while Brandon Ayuk able to get 11.5 in the loss to Cleveland. Then if we go into the namesake of Team Kelsey here for their tight end, it's none other than Travis Kelce, going up against good old Cole Kmet of Chicago, only able to get, let's see, he was only able to get 2 points in that loss to Minnesota. Kelce able to get 24 big ones in that big win over Denver. In the flex spot, Adam Thielen, who continues to have an awesome season for Carolina, able to get 28 points in that loss to Miami. Then Gus Edwards in the flex spot for better on paper, able to get 6 points in the win over Tennessee. And then if we look at the defenses, the Chiefs able to get 16 points in that win over Denver, while for better on paper, the Niners able to get 6 in the loss to Cleveland. Then finally, Brett Maher for the kicker for Kelsey Softly, able to get 15 points, which is pretty damn good at your kicker spot, only to be outbeat by Harrison Butker, able to get 18 points in the win over Denver. Now finally, if we go into our last game of the week, it was the BJJs taking on Team Nuge. Starting off, as always, with the QBs. Mr. Coles Cash himself, Kirk Cousins, only able to get 10 points in the win over Chicago, while Justin Herbert able to get 21 points in the loss to Dallas. Then if we go into the next set of wide receivers, next set of players, we have the running backs, and first up for BJJ's is Christian McCaffrey, who was able to score 14 points. I believe he also got injured for a few plays against Cleveland, while Jahmyr Gibbs put up a goose egg, and I don't think is he injured, or was just like a healthy scratch? He must have gotten injured. Was he inactive for week 6 even? Ooh, interesting. Then if we move into the next set of running backs here, we have Dameon Pierce able to pay. Let's see. Dameon Pierce versus Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert had himself another kind of career stay, able to get 34 points in that win over Carolina, while Dameon Pierce only did get 3 points in that win over New Orleans. Obviously, Raheem Mostert having the better day here. Then if we look at the first set of wide receivers, we'll just stay with Team Nuge here. Jamar Chase looking much better than at the start of the season. Able to get 14 points in the dub over Seattle. While Chris Olave, let's see, what the hell? Chris Olave was able to get 16 points in the loss to Houston. I was like, I lost my spot. Then if we want to stay with the JJs here, Tyler Lockett able to get 15 points in the loss to Cincy, while Puka Nacua only able to get 6 points in the win over Avi. Then if we move into the tight ends, Darren Waller able to get 9 points, but that's more of like a product of that kind of atrocious New York offense at the moment. But if we look on the opposite side here, Mr. Evan Engram able to get 11 points in that nice, decent win over Indy. Then if we look at the flex spot, we have Alexander Madison sitting there. Only able to get, let's see, 11 points in the win over Chicago, while Jalen Waddle, who finally, I shouldn't say finally, but he kind of re-debuted his Waddle dance, able to get 18 points in the win over Carolina. Then if we look at the defenses here real quick, we have the Bills able to get 6 points in the win over the Giants, while on the opposite side there's been I don't know how many banner raisings there's been, but banner raisings will the Patriots were only able to score. I don't know what I was talking about there. The Patriots were only able to score 2 points in that loss to Las Vegas. Lol. Then if we look at the kickers here, Blake Groupie, the rookie kicker, kind of thrust in that position after Will Lutz kind of bailed to go chill with Sean Payton in Denver. Able to get 7 points in the loss to Houston, while Cameron Dicker for the Chargers able to get 5 points in the loss to Dallas. All right, and I think, yeah, that takes care of ye old reviews. So now, the next step in this good old shebang that you're going to do is bring up the good old power rankings, as they have now been officially updated. Let me do that. Let me pull up what the other one, what the last week's power rankings were, because I actually forgot. Boom, 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 boom. All right, we got that. All right, let's do this. Boom, power rankings. Okay. So, we had a decent amount of movement this week in our league. Staying at the number 1 spot this week was, once again, D. Adams family with a record of 5-1 on the season, staying right there. Moving up to the number 2 overall top dog is none other than the Desert Swarm with a record of 4-2. Team Nuge falling this week down to number 3, also with a record of 4-2. And sneaking their way up into the 4th spot is Massage Watson, also with a 4-2 record on the season. Then jumping up to 5th is Kelsey Me Softly with a 500 on the year at 3-3. Dropping down to 6th this time is CD's Nuts, also 500 on the year. Team Dicka unfortunately continues to fall, and able to get or Team Ditka falls to 3-3 and also drops a few spots in the power rankings this week. Destino gets themselves out of the dumpster fires and moves them up into 8th spot with a 3-3 record. Then dropping down into 9th this week. The 9th this week is the Young Guns, who unfortunately have a record of 2-4. Then into the 10th spot is Bob's Burgers, also with a record of 2-4. Yo, Blaze.
What's up, brother?
Hell yeah. What's good? Thank you, Blaze. Appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much for the resub. And thank you for dropping on by. Hope you're doing well, staying safe, and having some fun, my guy. We're just sitting here chit-chatting about some fantasy football and just football in general. But yeah, just doing the good old power rankings for the Fantasy Football League for the Hooligan House. Chillin', fam. How we doing? Hey, can't complain, dude. Vibing. Doing the good old fantasy football podcast talk show thing. What about you? Let's see. To wrap up the power rankings real quick. Let's see. We had Bob's Burgers falling down to 10th with a record of 2-4, and then falling down into the dumpster fires this time is the BJJs with a record of 2-4 on the season. And last, but certainly not least, is team Better on Paper, sitting in dead last with a record of 1-5. All right. Now, let's move on into our next section of this, which is the weekly preview. So now we're going to take a quick look at next week's games. So this will be for a week 7. All right, and the week 7 matchups are as follows. In our first matchup of the week, Massage Watson, aka All Hail the Sun God, which is actually the new team name, who is sitting at 4-2 on 4-2 on the season, taking on Bob's Burgers, who is sitting at 2-4 on the season. In our second matchup of the week, we have the new number 2 overall top dog in the league, Desert Swarm, with a record of 4-2, taking on the Young Guns, who, just like the first matchup, have a record of 2-4. Moving into our third matchup. Actually, that is a great idea. I'll do that right after this one. Team Ditka, sitting at 500 with a record of 3-3, taking on CD's Nuts, who also has a 3-3 record. Do those later. Then if we get to the matchup number 2. Oh, okay. Then if we look at our third matchup, the third matchup was already Team Dick and C's Nuts. Fourth matchup was Better on Paper taking on D. Adams family, who is our number overall top dog in the league. Better on Paper, unfortunately, sitting at dead last in the league. These two teams having inverse records. Better on Paper 1-5, while D. Adams family 5-1 on the season. Then in our second to last matchup, we have Team Nugent sitting at 4-2 on the season, taking on Team Kelsey Me Softly, sitting at 500. Then if we move into our final matchup of the season, or I should say week, we'll do the BJJs taking on Destino. BJJs sitting at 500 on the season, while Destino also sitting at 500. Now, we'll do kind of what we usually do here, as kind of like what we did with the reviews. We're going to take a quick little look and make our picks at who we think is going to be doing a little bit better. All right. So let's go back. And we'll start off with our first matchup, which is All Hail the Sun God taking on Bob's Burgers. Make sure everyone fits in. Okay, and here we go. So starting at the top, we have the Rams and Matthew Stafford taking on Pittsburgh versus Jared Goff and Detroit taking on Baltimore. Ooh, Jared Goff has been producing. He's been pretty damn good. He's one of the top QBs in the league at the moment. But having that said, the new Detroit Lions are taking on Baltimore defense, which is actually pretty decent this year. If we look on the opposite side, though, Stafford, who would, I think a decent amount of people would say that the Rams have been kind of underperforming this year, but I mean, I think that was expected. I think Stafford is the league leader in actually passing yards, but he doesn't actually have the touchdowns to match it. He just got Cooper Kupp back and still has Puka Nacua. So the weapons are there. So you can only expect that as this man gets more and more yards, that the touchdowns eventually are going to follow. If you're going to look at this based on matchups, Stafford, I think I would have to go with Stafford on this one just because it's going against Pitt. Well, Pitt actually does have a good defense though, so this could actually be quite even. But if I had to guess, I might think that Pitt's defense is a little bit worse than Baltimore's. And I think Stafford might be able to have a little bit more of a day with him. But hey, I'm 100% ready to eat my words in that one. If we move into the running backs, we have Austin Eckler and the Chargers taking on KC versus DeAndre Swift. Ooh, and Philly taking on Miami. Ooh, that one's tough. I might go with DeAndre Swift on this one. I do like the muscle hamster Austin Eckler, apart from this being my team. But KC's defense is actually pretty damn good. But I think Miami's defense is actually just that much more soft. And it's like they rely, I feel like, just on their high-powered offense to be outscoring everyone. And when they outscore everyone, it feels like their defense just plays softer in general, so that because they just don't care, because they'll just keep outscoring anyways, you know? So for that, I think DeAndre Swift will have the better day. Also, Eckler's working back from injury. In the next set of running backs here, we have Jalen Warren and Pitt taking on the Rams versus Tyler Allgeier and Atlanta taking on Tampa. I'm going to have to go with Jalen Warren on this one because Jalen is technically the starting running back. In Atlanta, I think a lot of those balls and whatnot. My push-ups and safety, what's up? Yeah, I'll do them later. I'm not going to do them right now. Or I'll just refund them because I don't know. Might not be super long. Let's see if we do. Like I was saying, Tyler Allgeier is technically, or Allgeier is playing second fiddle to Bijan. So you still will get some touches, but probably not nearly as much as I would think Jalen Warren will. At first, during the beginning of the season, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris were kind of like in a running back sort of committee sort of deal, but that seems to have tapered off with Jalen Warren kind of taking the lead back role there, which is unfortunate because Najee is actually a damn good back, but based on the matchup and the players, I think I would have to go with Jalen Warren. The Rams are a pretty mediocre defense, kind of just like Tampa as well, but just the fact that I don't expect Allgeier to be touching the ball as much as Warren, so I think Warren will have a better day. Looking at the wide receivers here, Garrett Wilson is on bye, so this one's going to have to obviously go to the Sun God and Amon-Ra St. Brown. If we go into the next set of wide receivers here, we have Keenan Allen and the Chargers taking on KC versus DJ Moore and Chicago taking on the Raiders. Ooh. The matchup is not ideal, but I think Keenan Allen's going to have the better day. I don't believe in, as I'm wearing a Packer jersey. Also, the Bears were last in the league last year. They're not looking good at all this year. Raiders actually have a decent defense. I know they did just beat my Packers, but that defensive line is no joke. And guess what? It's probably one of the weak spots of the Bears, their offensive line. And if Fields is gonna, continue to sometimes overthrow pretty much all of his targets, then yeah, it's gonna be a rough day for DJ Moore. But on the opposite side here, Keenan Allen. Chargers also kind of mid-offense this year. I would say Keenan Allen is one of the main beneficiaries, also because Eckler's been injured, so They've been just kind of feeding them. They also have had a ton of injuries, including Mike Williams. So that once again, that also has been kind of to the benefit of Keenan Allen. But they are taking on KC, and I don't know, man. Like I said, just based on the matchups alone, you probably have to say that Keenan Allen's going to get at least some touches, and I would imagine that he is going to have a better day, at least compared to DJ Moore. Moving to tight ends, we have TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota taking on San Fran, versus Tyler Higbee and the Rams taking on Pitt. Normally, I would say Hawkinson, but Minnesota's offense is terrible, and they're taking on the buzzsaw that is San Fran. So I might have to go with Higbee on this one, just because of the matchup. All right, let's see if we go into the flex spots. DeAndre Hopkins is on bye, so we're gonna have to skip that one and go straight. Give that one to Zay Flowers, who in Baltimore is playing against Detroit. If we move into the defenses, the Commanders, Washington taking on the Giants versus the Lions taking on Baltimore. I'm gonna have to go with the Commanders, just based on the matchup, because the Giants are fucking terrible right now. Mac Jones does not look like he knows what he's doing. Daniel Jones doesn't look like what he's doing. Also considering he's injured, so Geno Smith is injured. Coach D-Ball sitting there yelling at his offensive coordinator, then yelling at Geno for I guess bad clock management, but I don't know. A lot of it I feel like also comes down to Dayball. So they got issues there in the Giants. So I think the Commanders are going to have a little bit more of a field day. Don't get me wrong. The Lions defense is insane right now, but I just think Commanders are going to put up the bigger stat line. In the kicker matchup, we have Dustin Hopkins in Cleveland taking on Indy versus Matt Gay in Both these teams might be running with backup kickers or backup quarterbacks. Minshew mania for Indianapolis, while Dorian Thompson, I can't forget his name, unfortunately, I'm sorry, is going to be, I believe, the QB for Cleveland again. I think, because Cleveland does have a good defense, so I think they might be able to get to Minshew and that Indianapolis offense pretty early and often. So I think maybe Dustin Hopkins will. I don't expect that the Browns offense to be like completely awesome, if at all any, but I do expect them to get within range of Hopkins at least a tiny bit to be able to give him some points. So I'll give this one the edge to Hopkins a little bit. All right, moving into the next matchup, which is the Desert Swarm taking on the Young Guns. There we go. All right. Starting off with the QBs, we got Brock Purdy and San Fran taking on Minnesota versus Mahomes and KC taking on the Chargers. Brock Purdy has been looking pretty damn good. The matchup is also pretty good, seeing that Minnesota isn't that great. But the reason why I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes is going to have the bigger stat line is because if CMC can go, that's why. I was like, the man could just hand it off to CMC and that he could just take it to the house. He can also dish it, just do a quick little screen pass to him too, and he can also take it to the house. But that would help Purdy. But in terms of just pure throwing, I think it's going to be Mahomes having a better day against a pretty mediocre Chargers defense. If we look at the running backs, we have Travis Etienne and Jacksonville taking on New Orleans versus James Cook and Buffalo taking on New England. I'm going to have to roll with Travis Etienne on this one. Dude just looks incredible right now. He's playing out of his mind. Don't get me wrong, the New Orleans defense is very good, but just think Etienne's gonna have the better day. James Cook, I'm not 100% sold on. I think that's just part of that Buffalo offense going against New England. Buffalo's made a lot of close games that they didn't need to, so just, like I said, not sold on the Buffalo offense. If you look at the running backs, Kyron Williams is going to be out, so this one goes to A.J. Dillon, who, if Aaron Jones does sit for this game, then A.J. Dillon would totally see some more snap usage. Green Bay did pick up James Robinson off of wires, so off of the waiver wire, so we will see how he gets worked into the system. If we look at the wide receivers, we have Tyreek in Miami taking on Philly versus DK Metcalf, and Seattle taking on Arizona. I mean, I don't think it matters what the defense is. You got to roll with Tyreek. He's just too damn good on too potent of an offense that's just clicking on all cylinders right now. Looking at the second set of wide receivers here, we have Jacoby Myers and Las Vegas taking on Chicago versus Scary Terry in Washington taking on the Giants. I'm gonna go ahead and say Jacoby Myers, just purely based off of the matchup and the fact that they're going against the Chicago defense. Although, if Jimmy G doesn't play, that could be a problem. You know what? Screw that. I take that back. Give me Sam Howell. Give me Sam Howell and Scary Terry McLaurin for a little bit better of a better stat line here. Giants, like I said, they're kind of fumbling. So is Chicago, but I'm not sure who's throwing the ball in Vegas. If it's not going to be Jimmy G, then that could be a problem. If we look into the tight ends, we have Mark Andrews in Baltimore taking on Detroit versus Dallas Goedert and Philly taking on Miami. I think Mark Andrews will have the better day. He's just so dependable, and the fact that now Baltimore is being able to spread the ball a little bit more. Of course, they don't really have 100% reliability in their running backs because their main one got hurt, but they've been able to dish it out to their wide receivers and their tight end, obviously being Mark Andrews. If we move right into the flex spots, we got Drake London in Atlanta taking on Tampa versus Christian Kirk in Jacksonville taking on New Orleans. I'm gonna go. It's like I want to go Christian Kirk, but I think that Saints defense is just going to be a bit of a problem there for Jacksonville, especially if Trevor Lawrence is actually hurt, which he is. So I think I'm going to say Drake London because that Tampa defense is also just kind of bad right now. If we look into the defenses, we have the Ravens and Baltimore taking on Detroit versus the Seahawks taking on Arizona. I think the Seahawks defense might have the better stat line here. Just because this isn't the Detroit of yore. This is actually a damn good Lions team. Don't get me wrong, the Seattle's defense is actually pretty good, but it's not like they're the best team. They're the best defense in the entire league. This is going against about one of the favorites to, if not go to the NFC Championship game, to the Super Bowl. And that's incredible to say for the Lions. But nonetheless, I think with this new age that they're in and how good Detroit is, I think the Ravens might just get scored on more than they were used to. Whereas the Seahawks, I think, might be able to handle Arizona. Although Arizona has been able to contend with Josh Dobbs. If we look into the kickers, there's Anders Carlson and GB able to, well, and Green Bay taking on Denver versus Jake Elliott and Philly taking on Miami. Ooh. Give me, this one might be, give me Anders Carlson on this one, because I'm kind of thinking that Philly and Miami might be a shootout, so you might see a lot of just extra points, whereas the Green Bay and Denver game, honestly, you could see Mr. Jordan Love struggle again and throw some picks, or not not able to finish drives. But with Anders able to hit from at least like 50 yards, maybe a little plus, and he hasn't missed one all season, so I'm gonna give him the edge on getting more points this weekend, based on the fact that I kind of expect some drives to fizzle out within field goal range for Mr. Carlson to hit it. Okay. In our third matchup, we got good old Team Dicko taking on CD's Nuts. In the first matchup, we got Baker Mayfield and Tampa taking on Atlanta versus Jalen Hurts. And Philly taking on Miami. I like the matchup of Baker going up against Atlanta. But yeah, I guess we'll just choose Baker just because you don't know. Well, no, it's not true. We'll go Jalen's going to have the better day. Moving into the running backs, we have Jonathan Taylor and Indy taking on Cleveland versus Rashad White and Tampa taking on Atlanta. JT going against Cleveland versus Rashad White and going against Atlanta. Both of these are not ideal. Maybe Rashad White, just because I don't have 100% faith in that Atlanta defense. Then if we take a look into the next set of running backs, we got Jerome Ford in Cleveland taking on Indy versus Chuba Hubbard, who's on bye, so Jerome Ford gets this one. In the wide receivers, we have AJ Brown in Philly taking on Miami versus Devontae Adams and the Raiders taking on Chicago. Give me Devontae Adams to carve up Chicago because he's long familiar with them. I hope he does play, but it'll be hilarious to see Tay go off on Chicago again. In the next set of wide receivers, we have Jordan Addison in Minnesota taking on San Fran versus CeeDee Lamb, who is on bye. So Jordan Addison on wins by default. Sam Laporta in Detroit taking on the tight end for Detroit taking on Baltimore also wins by default since Dalton Schultz is on bye. If we go into the flex spot, Michael Pittman Jr. in Indy taking on Cleveland versus Dante Foreman in Chicago taking on Las Vegas. Got to go with Pittman Jr. He's at least the number one wide receiver there in Indianapolis. Although they have Gardner Minshew throwing him to now, I'm not sure how much that'll make a difference. Then if we get into the kickers, Jake Moody, the San Francisco kicker. Going to Minnesota versus Tyler Bass and Buffalo taking on New England. I think Tyler Bass might have the better day, as I think Jake Moody's going to be kicking a lot of extra field goals since that 49ers team just feels like it's a freaking buzzsaw. Tyler Bass, I could totally see Buffalo stalling out and having to use Tyler Bass to kick some field goals. All right. Moving on to Better on Paper versus D. Adams Family. Starting at the top, we got Lamar Jackson, Baltimore, and Detroit taking on Tua and Miami and taking on Philly. Hmm. That's a tough one. I'm gonna guess Tua's gonna have the better day, especially if that game ends up going to a shootout. In the running back 2 spots, we got Saquon Barkley, and pretty much taking this one because Joe Mixon is on bye. In the next set of running backs, we got Isaiah Pacheco and KC taking on the Chargers versus Ramondre Stevenson and New England taking on Buffalo. Gonna have to go with Pacheco on this one. Just the matchup against the Chargers is too good to pass up. In the wide receivers, we got Gabe Davis for Buffalo taking on New England versus Stephon Diggs for Buffalo taking on New Orleans. New England. Gotta roll with Diggs, right? Because he's been killing it. But I mean, technically, so is Gabe Davis. But I think Diggs will have the better day. In the wide receiver 2 spot, we got Darnell Savage in Chicago taking on Vegas versus Devontae Smith in Philly taking on Miami. Oh, whoops. Didn't even realize. Let's see. Let's see here. So I would choose probably Butker. Not really sure how long that was muted for, unfortunately. So we'll just do my last 3 picks, because I don't know, like I said, didn't know how long it was. Didn't actually catch my audio for, unfortunately. My picks for this team were George Kittle at tight end, Godwin at flex, 49ers at defense, and then Butker at kicker. Alright. Moving into the Team Nugent versus Kelsey Me Softly. Okay, starting off with the QBs, we have Justin Herbert and the Chargers taking on KC versus Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is technically listed as questionable right now. But man, I think I would have to go with Justin Herbert on this one. I know they're going against the Super Bowl champions in Kansas City, but Trevor Lawrence is banged up, and that New Orleans defense is actually pretty damn good. So if he's already can't be mobile, or is going to be hobbled a little bit, it feels like it spells a bad day for Jacksonville. So we're going to go with Herbert having the better day. If we move into the running backs, in Raheem Mostert in Miami taking on Philly versus Bijan, and Atlanta taking on Tampa, I'm going to go with Bijan. Kid's a stud. And I feel like it doesn't matter what defense he goes up against, he's just absolutely going to kill it. If we move into the next set of running backs, we got Kenneth Gainwell in Philly taking on Miami versus Kenneth Walker in Seattle taking on Arizona. Gonna have to go with Kenneth Walker on this one, since Kenneth Gainwell is not even the starting back there in Philly. Yeah, based on that one. If we move into the wide receivers, we have Mike Evans in Tampa taking on Atlanta versus Kelvin Ridley in Jacksonville taking on New Orleans. I might roll with Mike Evans on this one. Not sold on that Atlanta defense, and with Baker at the helm, it feels like Mike Evans is probably the main beneficiary there. If we move into the next set of wide receivers, we have Puka Nacua and the Rams taking on Pittsburgh versus Brandon Ayuk, and San Fran taking on Minnesota. I'm going to have to go with Ayuk on this one. Puka Nacua has now kind of been regulated to the wide receiver 2 since Cooper Kupp is back. Brandon Ayuk just continuing to have an amazing season. Deebo Samuel also went out last week with an injury, so Ayuk just remaining to be healthy is also just benefiting him. So give me Ayuk, especially going against that Minnesota defense, which is pretty terrible right now. Moving into the tight ends, we have Evan Engram in Jacksonville taking on New Orleans versus Travis Kelce and KC taking on the Raiders. Or the Chargers, not the Raiders. Why did I say Raiders? The Chargers. Probably have to go with Travis Kelce, because he is the main focal point of that offense, right? If we move into the flex spot, we got Jalen Waddle in Miami taking on Philly versus Christian Watson in Green Bay taking on Denver. As much as I want to say Christian Watson will have the better day, I think Jalen Waddle might, because if it's going to, I've said this every time, it could be a high scoring affair, and if it is, it ain't just going to be Tyreek Hill scoring, it's going to be also Jalen in there. So and even though I'd love Christian Watson and obviously my Packers, but I just it's hard to tell how Love's going to perform. Are we going to get another 3 interception week, or is he actually going to be able to find and hit some targets for some touchdowns? So that being so kind of volatile and unknown, it's hard to pick Watson right now. If we move into the defenses, we got the Bills taking on New England versus the Chiefs taking on the Chargers. I think the Chiefs will probably get a little bit more points, maybe. I'm just not convinced of that Bills defense. They've dropped some pretty big games against just random opponents, and they're going up against New England, who I feel like Bill Belichick does tend to scheme much better against them, so we'll see. And finally, in our kickers, we got Cameron Dicker and the Chargers taking on KC versus Brett Maher and the Rams taking on Pitt. Give me Maher. I have a feeling that. Oh, actually. Yeah, I feel like there is potential. No, I take that back. Give me Cameron Dicker. I feel like Chargers have more of a chance to fizzle out on defense than Pitt does. It's like they might, but I feel like Cameron Dicker's got a little bit more of a leg there. Get out of here. And then finally we got the newly acclaimed peanut oil instead of Destino, which was technically last year's team name, but newly renamed peanut oil. Josh Allen in Buffalo taking on New England versus Kirk Cousins, and Minnesota taking on San Fran. Gotta go with Josh Allen. Just San Fran's a buzzsaw right now. If we look in the running backs, we got Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas taking on Chicago versus Alexander Madison in Minnesota taking on San Fran. For literally the reason I just said, gonna go with Josh Jacobs taking on Chicago, who is pretty god awful right now. Next set of running backs, we got Alvin Kamara in New Orleans taking on Jacksonville versus Justice Hill in Baltimore taking on Detroit. Give me Alvin Kamara going against Jacksonville. These new Detroit Lions are going to be something else against that run game. In the first matchup of wide receivers, we got Marquise Brown in Arizona taking on Seattle versus Chris Olave in New Orleans taking on Jacksonville. This one's kind of tough. I want to say Chris Olave is going to have the better day. Jacksonville does have a pretty good defense, but Derek Carr and Olave have been killing it this season. Same thing with Marquise Brown, despite the fact he's had Josh Dobbs throwing to him. In the next set of wide receivers, we have Michael Thomas in New Orleans taking on Jacksonville versus Tyler Lockett in Seattle taking on Arizona. I'd say Tyler Lockett is going to have the better day. He is still an awesome deep threat there for Geno. In the tight end spot, we got Dawson Knox for Buffalo taking on New Orleans versus Darren Waller, and the Giants taking on Washington. If Daniel Jones can play in that game, then maybe Darren Waller, but if not, maybe Dawson Knox. Neither of these are really that great at the moment, but if Daniel Jones is ready to go, then I'd say yes. And I'd say that Waller would be the pick. If we move into the flex spot, we got Cooper Kupp and the Rams taking on Christian McCaffrey, and San Fran taking on Minnesota. Gotta go with Christian McCaffrey. Just Minnesota isn't good, and McCaffrey's just too much of a beast. In the defenses, we have the Browns taking on Indy versus the Pats taking on Buffalo. Gotta go with the Browns on this one because the Indianapolis Colts are down to a backup QB with Anthony Richardson deciding to go on IR and have a season-ending surgery. Then if we go into the kickers, we got Younghoe Koo in Atlanta taking on Tampa versus Blake Grupe in New Orleans taking on Jacksonville. Give me Koo for Atlanta. I think they might fizzle out on the opponent's side of the field, which will leave plenty of opportunities for Mr. Koo. All right. And that ends, technically, the preview into the next week. Which means there's one thing left. That is that we make our picks for the next and upcoming NFL week. It's been, just kind of the new tradition to how we end Fantasy Haus Live. No, give me the schedule here. Yeah. For week 7. Let me grab these. Grab this snipping tool here. All right. Give that a minimize. Do. Boom, boom, boom. All right. We'll do this. We'll just change this. Whoop, I pressed the wrong button. Wow, it doesn't show it right. Okay, I see you. Ah. Alright, we'll do it this way. Just do the display capture. Okay. So let's zoom in a little bit here. Let's start at the top. Okay. Can I make this more center? I don't know if I can. Oh well. Okay. So we got the Jags taking on the Saints. Saints sitting at 3-3. Jags 4-2. Give me. Trevor Lawrence is injured. Might not play. Give me the Saints. The Lions versus the Ravens. Give me the Lions. I'm all in. Raiders and Bears. Give me the Raiders. Browns versus Colts. Give me the Browns. Bills versus Pats. Give me the Bills. Commanders and Giants. Give me the Commanders. I'm just circling. Oh, I was gonna say, am I just circling the left side here? Falcons and Bucks. They're playing in. I'm gonna guess Bucks. Steelers and Rams. I'm gonna go Rams. Seahawks, Cardinals. Seahawks. Packers, Broncos. Give me the Packers. Chargers, Chiefs. The good old Chiefs skis. Ooh. Dolphins, Eagles. Dolphins, Eagles. That's a tough one. Team that just kind of lost, kind of fluky-ish. High-powered offense. Better defense, though, technically. Give me the Eagles. And then this one, Niners, Vikings. Niners. This is going to be a good fucking game, though. I can't actually wait for that. That's going to be good. But, alright. There you have it. These are our picks for the week. We didn't do too bad last week. I think we won, like, was it 11 and... No. I take that back. Let's see. 10 and 5. So it wasn't too bad. But, alright. Sick. I think that's where we are going to call it, my friends. Whew. did a lot of talking. So in that bit of time, we covered we covered the review and went into and checked out all of the games from week 6. Then we checked out the newly updated power rankings for week 7. Then we took a look into the next week's matchups and kind of made our picks into which players are going to have the edge. And then finally, as a nice little cherry on top, we made our picks for the games that are going to be happening this NFL weekend. Just been a nice little, kind of like pick 'em thing we've been doing here at the end. But I hope you guys enjoyed the content this evening. It was only just going to be a little short one. As you guys have been watching this is, you guys already know, it's most of the time we'll just end the stream. We'll end this part of the stream here because we do export this straight over to YouTube. So if you guys are watching on the YouTube side, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching and watching more of our community fantasy league. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please feel free to leave some sort of comment down below if you'd like. You can also hit that subscribe button and give us a follow, and just let us know down below what you think of the thing. Other than that, if you guys are in stream, like I said, I'm gonna call it here for a bit. I might hop back on later. I am kind of a bit tired, but we'll see. Doing a bit talking because, man, it's pretty much just 2 hours of me just straight. Yep. But we'll figure it out. Otherwise, I will catch you guys later. You guys are always amazing. I love the shit out of you, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace out. Stay safe. Much love. And I'll see you later. Bye.